my new music now is hectic, lad. Like fucking.
Well, you say it's implying there's a different direction.
Yeah, cause like it's less expressing myself in a way that like I just have to get it off my chest.
Yeah.
And it's more like I'm making music now.
Yeah.
Like I put it in a way where like how we were saying trim and that have that sound where you can tell that's that crew.
Yeah.
And you can tell from that's that crew from that time, from that place, and they're from Melbourne.
Yeah.
I got a couple boys that are doing tracks like I just mentioned my homie Mike.
Yeah.
Like he fucking, there's a sound of Sydney at the moment that's coming that's not been released yet.
Yeah.
But all my tape has a solid sound, bro.
Huskii is one of the most polarising and respected artists in this scene. He flows on tracks like he just wrote them 5 minutes before he laid down his verse, and they're always super complex and relatable, yet never too over the top where the lazy ear doesn't catch any of the bars. He has more talent and skills on the microphone like no one else that's come before him, and his fans are at a cult level status. He's been in the scene for a while now, but never had he quite used his full potential to put anything together, until he dropped his magnus opus album, Antihero. Like Lil Peep, Kanye West and Kurt Cobain, there is no one like them that has come before or will ever come after. For us in Australia, that is Huskii. I'm here to try and talk you through the lead up to his near perfect album, Antihero. Huskii had a very troubled childhood, where drugs and prison played a big part in his parents' lives. He grew up around Wollongong, which is known for its beautiful beaches, but not many people see the dark side, where drugs and crime have control. He credits his nan and pop a lot in his music and interviews for helping him and becoming his safe place as a child. From the very start of his music career, he has always opened up and let us inside his life and inside his head. He deserves the credit for being one of the first rappers to really talk about the feelings on a level like this. Yet we will never know the full extent of what he's been through. Like most of us, we hold secrets from past experience that we'll never let out and try hide them in the back of our brains. But today, I'm not here to talk about Huskii's personal life. I'm here to guide you through his music career and what led up to his debut album. One of the first tracks we heard from Huskii was a song called Sick, uploaded to Hustle Hard TV in 2015. He raps with a chopper style flow yet doesn't miss a beat. It stood out so much as he was talking about topics like parole officers, selling drugs, being homeless and his mates turning on him. It instantly got everyone's attention as Oz Rap was in a bit of a lull around then and now sits on 1.5 million views. But behind the camera you see a shy, awkward kid who didn't like to be the main character and wasn't dropping this for fame or attention like most rappers. And everything he said, you can see the pain in his eyes, and most of all, you believed him. Comments weren't just 16-year-old part-time hip-hop listeners who come in for the latest trend. It was hip-hop heads from all ages giving him props and saying things like he reminds them of Trem and Brad Strutt with his microphone skills. Then in 2016 we heard his debut EP, Barely Awake and Paranoid. Just 7 tracks, but again it blew everyone away and he instantly got himself a foot in the Oz rap scene. The EP is very dark, with constant topics of feeling rejected his whole life, drugs and violence, but on such a deeper level than the average rapper would portray. Prison also seems to be a constant theme throughout the project, even some bars about his brother and father both doing prison stints as he released it. The EP seems to be more of a way for Huskii to get all the emotions and feelings off his chest. The standout track seems to be Ashes to Ashes, which is an insanely deep cut with clever multi-syllables and wordplay, yet not over the top where the lazy, non-hip-hop head will tune out. So many people could relate to the cycle of drugs, violence and depression that Huskii was expressing through this EP. While it was definitely a great EP and still has so much replay value today, it's just him showing off his skills rapping over beats without proper production. And that's a statement that isn't coming from a bad place. It's what you expect from most rappers from their first EPs or mixtapes. The difference is Huskii had the skills to become one of the greats.
In a state, suspended plates with plenty weight. I was moving pretty stupid, had to get it straight. 8 bricks in the day, I thought my friends were fake. Sipping Ricky, my teeth still shitty from lemonade. People hit me up daily, they think my shit is great. My shit is AIDS, I hate myself and I hate this place. Vivid dreams of cutting veins with razor blades. I wake up dazed and realize it's the same old place.
In May of 2017, he dropped his second EP titled Brain Numb. It was only 5 short tracks, but it's some of the deepest, darkest, yet best music this scene has had in a long time. The first track being Sad Boy, he spills out his feelings from front to back and lets us in on some more of his troubled life, including some troubled times with his mother, which is a rare insight to the life of that no other rapper was giving us at the time. The second track is Toothache. It's another deep cut, yet unlike his first EP, he started to slow down his chopper style flow a lot and really find his own sound. The third track he titled Laziest Rapper Alive, which is quite fitting as he had the potential to drop a banging 12-track album, but instead he chose to give fans a 5-track EP. But the standout track and the fan favourite was Old Me, which is Huskii reflecting on his life and all the mistakes he's made, but instead of saying how messed up his life is, it's him actually admitting the things he's doing is wrong, yet he can't seem to help giving in to the temptations. The whole EP has a lot of suicidal references, and also shows us Huskii's struggle with a lean addiction. This EP really made Huskii a name for himself, and this is where he really started to gather a fan base from all over the country, and also where the 201 tag would come from that he references a lot in his music. I heard that he actually told himself 201 days from his birthday that if he didn't turn his life around, he's going to kill himself on his birthday. I'll speak on behalf of all his fans and say I'm glad he never went through with that.
Yeah, like that Brain Numb, that was like a thing that I needed to make. That's some things I needed to say. All the other songs really, they were just like a couple in here and there that you know that are deep, but most of them they're just trying to like, what do people want to hear? Where's music going at the moment? What's this Aussie scene doing?
Around 2017, Huskii done a small stint in prison. He said around this time he started to feel like a burden to a lot of people, and he also went through a very bad breakup. His mentality at the time was him against the world and felt like no one wanted to help him. Prison also seemed to suck all the creativity out of him, and he struggled to even write music at the time. So once he got out, he just tried to live life and listen to music again. He decided to try and get some work to get some cash and turn his life around. He ended up being involved in a car accident, and by all reports it was quite serious. Bagsy, who was just starting Body Bag Media, ended up driving to get Huskii. He also mentioned to him that he should come to his studio and record a verse for a new series he'd been working on called Body the Booth. Huskii eventually agreed and got a beat from Loop Goons. He had previously used his beats without asking, but his music was so good Loop Goons gave him a discounted price and said, "You can use my beats, but let's continue to work together in the future." Then on the 17th of September 2017 he dropped his classic Body the Booth. The track is so raw and honest it probably even turns people away from it. Some of the themes mentioned in the song are Huskii actually going to prison and seeing his dad in the same jail as him. He also talks about the closest he's ever been with his brother and father was when they would all be on drugs together, and in a weird way he actually misses them times. The track is 3 minutes, but it's some of the most honest and heartfelt music you'll ever hear. This track itself put Huskii on another level. He was really starting to find his own sound now.
Yeah, bro, like, I remember hearing it, bro, and it was just, oh, you know, them bars hit hard, bro. And plus, Loop Goons, bro, originally, because that beat, it was actually just looped. It wasn't how, like, you have heard it. It was just a looped beat. So then when we ended up getting ready to drop it, Loop Goons hit up Benny and goes, "Send me the like the vocals and stuff, the stems, and I'll mix it and master it, and I'll make the beat around your vocals as well." And that's where you've got like everyone seeing like the finished product. And bro, that just went crazy. that was just, yeah, bro, intense.
He was starting to have a very unique sound, like no one else in the scene, and it was similar to the Lil Peep XXXTentacion SoundCloud wave in the US. He was also living at Bagsy's family home in his studio, and credits him a lot for this in interviews. He was crying out for attention on his records, but he never thought about what the fame of being a rapper might bring him, especially on his level. Here he would also start to link up with an up-and-coming rapper by the name of Chillin' It. They dropped some classic tracks together like Dust to Dust and Hate Them All. This duo and Bagsy was starting to shift the Australian hip-hop scene. Chillin' and Huskii would become quite close and still remain so to this day. Not only was Huskii finding his very unique style and sounding more comfortable on tracks, the Australian hip-hop landscape was shifting. Acts like himself, Chillin' It, Rops One, Talakai and Lil Snow were bringing more of a street style to music, something we hadn't seen a whole lot of apart from artists like Cursor, Forte and Enter. The days of festival choruses and waiting for Triple J to pick up your songs were dying, and the do-it-yourself trap mentality was hitting the scene. Huskii linked up with Little Snow and very creatively recorded 5 trap sessions called Petrol with Alex Jones, Slurpee, Donuts, Runs and Servo. These tracks are iconic because you can literally feel the environment they were in at the time. Just from listening, you felt like you were somewhere in a trap house doing late night runs to the local servo. Everything about the songs was so unique, the Australian storytelling, the flows, the lyrics, the distortion of the vocals. Huskii and Snow complemented each other on the tracks like nothing else. The standout track was definitely Servo, with lyrics like "I gotta go see a man about a dog" really grabbed people's attentions. It actually felt like you were right there in the trap with them. I feel like these 5 tracks really get overlooked, but I think they are legendary. It's really where Huskii started to create a name for himself. Also that year, Huskii dropped tracks like Brain Numb Freestyle and Maybe It's Me, which now has 4.5 million streams on YouTube and is a fan favourite. Huskii's fan base continued to grow, but one thing he wasn't really prepared for was the fame. By now, Huskii was a well-known name in the scene. Some people would almost say he was the best. He would get recognised in most places he went, and a lot of kids would look up to him, which is something he seemed to struggle with. Especially the kids looking up to him and trying to be like him. Just because you're famous, it doesn't mean you're a role model to kids, but unfortunately, it's the way it goes and people will put you on a pedestal. Although Huskii said he tried not to condone any stupid behaviour and definitely advises people not to do drugs. If you listen to his music and interviews, he never tells anyone to do drugs. He actually steers people away from it and shows you what type of life you could get sucked into. Throughout 2019, he was reasonably quiet, though dropped a few tracks, but in 2020 he had an incredible run of features that might get overlooked, which is rare from Huskii. He did songs like 10 Toes on the Road with Gravy Baby, Filth with Indigo Merkaba, Russell Coit with Shadow and Vin Sims, Time Off with Free Souls, Keep Grinding with Scotty Hines, and Send Me to Hell with Forte and Curvy. I'll say that he had the standout verse on every track there. Besides Send Me to Hell, I reckon Curvy just got him. He also dropped a 5-track EP with Chillin' It, titled 4 Days. This is something fans had been dying to hear and they delivered. It's 14 minutes and 32 seconds of Chillin' It and Huskii going bar for bar, bringing out the best in each other. It was written and recorded in just 4 days. Marijuana and Bust Down seemed to be the fan favourite. This EP was great for the scene, as both artists were at their peak. But unfortunately, while his standard of music was rising, he was sentenced to another stint in prison throughout 2020. This was devastating for fans who were waiting for another project, but more devastating for Huskii's family. He would be facing up to 8 years, which left everyone nervously waiting to see what the future held for Huskii. He was ahead of the ball though. He dropped a film clip for a track called Intro, which would be off an upcoming EP titled Recalled. Then on November 9th, he dropped his EP from Behind Bars. It's 8 songs, and I'm probably biased, but all the songs are bangers. Tracks like Blood Brothers 2, Surfin' and Pressure, Money Machine seem to be the favourites. Although in terms of a project, as an overall outcome, you can just tell it's been rushed. Huskii said that he got this project out just to support his family because he didn't know how long he would be facing inside jail. He would be on jail calls getting messages from producers explaining what they were doing to finalise the project. But he felt like he could trust his team to put something out that represents him well. He only had about 10 minutes on a call, and he would rather use that time to talk to his family rather than discuss music. For a project that's rushed, it's still Huskii rapping at a top tier level. And if you listen now, the replay value to all his songs is great, but it just isn't put together like an album would be. Some of the tracks don't fit in the places, and the sound is tied in together like a classic album might be. Either way, the fans were excited to hear a new project from Huskii, but for him, he was stuck inside a cell awaiting his sentence.
So I said to someone the other day, like, bro, at this stage, I've kind of surpassed my favourite rappers and the people that I wanted to look up to and be like, like American people and English, like, you know what I mean? I'd always looked up to underground rappers, like Brother Lynch Hung or whatever, like that's how I started getting into hip hop. And like, if I drop this album right now, I'm a legend in Australia in the hip hop scene, no matter what anyone says, bro. I don't give a fuck. I'm 100% legend status, lad. You can't take that away from me. So what the fuck do I want to do now? I never really wanted to get rich off this shit, and I definitely don't want to be famous from it. And like, the industry does not cater for people who don't want the fame. Like, that's it. Like, bro, I like making art and I love releasing my art because at the end of the day, I don't even know if it's good myself until someone tells me, until I get feedback. I don't even know if I'm making good music. And then,
I'm gonna tell you right now, you're making good fucking music, bro. We heard the Antihero album. By the way, it's coming out tonight.
Fortunately, he didn't get the maximum sentence and was released from prison after a short stint. He remained quite quiet once he got out, I assume just spending time with his family, listening to music and living life again. He would often go live on YouTube and Instagram at all sorts of hours. I found these very interesting. Some days he would just be chilling, listening to music and artists like Nirvana and All Day. Other days he would answer fans' questions, and sometimes he would just be hanging out with other artists like Gravy Baby and Chillin' It. I also found he would post some of All Day's songs into his Instagram story. I'm only saying this because I want to put it in the universe and hopefully see an All Day and Husky track. I reckon it would be insane. Then he randomly surprised us and covered some classic Nirvana songs and put it on SoundCloud. He covered Something in the Way, Where Did You Sleep Last Night and Lithium. Many fans really appreciated these covers, and Husky showing us his creativity of being more than just a rapper. It's also quite fitting as I've studied Kurt Cobain a lot and I see a lot of similarities between him and Husky. One thing that happened while Husky was in prison was labels from all over the country would come visit him and write him letters trying to get him to sign. One of the heads of the companies actually wrote the judge a letter and helped Husky get bail. He always stayed away from signing, but they made some sort of distribution deal and decided to put some sort of money behind his new project without completely owning and telling what direction his music should go. We started to see Husky a lot more in the studios, and he let his fans know another project was on the way, and he was bringing a new sound and putting some artists on he thinks deserve the limelight. He decided he was over his sad boy suicidal themed approach to music and really wanted to show the world his creativity. Then in November of 2021 he dropped his first single off the album titled Ruin My Life, and he wasn't lying when he said he was bringing a new sound. The fans loved it and it trended on YouTube for a few weeks. Just a month later he dropped the second single titled Heroin Rap, teaming up with the last edition for the film clip. He titled it Heroin Rap just to show people he wasn't doing any of this for fame, and if the title or lyrics can turn you off a song, he doesn't want you as a fan anyway, just for some extra streams or sales. Again, it was completely different sound for Husky. The production and mixing of his lyrics were crazy. It again trended on YouTube and it had his fans itching for the album. The rollout was executed perfectly, just by Husky delivering with the first two singles like he said he would. Then, in February of 2022, he dropped his debut album titled Antihero. It's 7 songs long. I believe it was only 6, but he got told if he made another one it would be classed as an album. I think 7 to 10 songs is perfect for an album these days. With platforms like TikTok and Instagram, no one's attention spans are long enough for massive albums. It's mainly produced by Tasker and Husky. It starts off with the 2 singles, then gets into Pulp Fiction with Grubbo and Melted, which both have a 90s type vibe to them. Melted, he raps just slightly out of pocket, yet it sounds just on beat to sound perfect. He shouts out Spanian Chillin' It and the Kid Laroi and talks about making 6 figures being independent. The next track is Cape Fear Big Wave Contest, which is a posse track featuring Shadow, Mike Pompey and Itis. Then it goes into Elevator, which is just an insane instrumental, but Husky doesn't rap over it. I feel like he chose not to rap over this beat just to show you how talented he is, and he can produce such a phenomenal beat and leave it as an instrumental album cut when most rappers would pay a lot of money for something like this. It reminded me of when Kanye West dropped Lift Off, which is an insane beat, but chose to throw the most garbage lyrics over it just because he can, and he's talented and will produce another hit. The album finishes with Toxic, which I believe is Husky's greatest music achievement yet. He dropped a very artistic music video along with a song. I got goosebumps hearing this for the first time, and he could really show what Husky was doing with this one. The natural talent, the natural swagger, the class, and the finesse to pull a record off like this just goes to show that Husky is more than just a rapper rapping over beats and is a talented musician. The whole album gives me a feeling like I'm in a 90s Quentin Tarantino movie. Although it's only 19 minutes and 30 seconds long, this album is Husky's magnum opus, and it's a project he's been leading up to making since he started rapping. It also went #1 on the ARIA charts, which is incredible for a hip-hop act in this country. I don't think people understand what an achievement that is. Only acts like Hilltop Hoods and Bliss Nesso are able to reach these heights. He also announced a tour on the back of the album, which is rare from Husky, and it completely sold out, and most of the venues ended up being upgraded due to more people. The album deserved an ARIA award and was Album of the Year in my opinion. He unfortunately found himself back in prison during the tour, but was later released, and I hope we can all look forward to some new music as good as Antihero one day. But if he chooses to retire now, he's already known as one of the greats. Thanks for watching.
Yo. shit, I don't care if you can sing, scream them. Back to Puffer Jackets, rap ain't paid enough. Driver harbours in this hot box when we take it to climb. I know cats to catch a hat, just to taste this stuff. Baby, I'm crazy, come over, I'm getting wavy as fuck. I'm fucking demons, I don't care about the dice I roll. Picking up any turn and trying to walk with China dogs. I tried to roll like everyone else, that shit wasn't for me. Phone on D&D, fuck it, I'll sort that in. I got no off, they just talk, I don't wanna look me, that's a travesty. No Cactus Jack, I'm back to black. I'm Jack the Ripper on these rappers, I go slash for slash. Action packed in my dax if I got the cash for that. They don't see me at their shows, they just leave me for the blow. I'm a genie with blue magic and Houdini. I get green and I get greedy, so I need to sing it,